watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for listening to the Bold Moves podcast. I am the host, Mandy Bryce, and I am so excited to share with you episode number 305, where I am chatting with Dr. Radisha Brown. Radisha was homeless. She was in the foster care system. She was obese, overweight, and she turned it all around and now is fit and is a best-selling author and is helping so many people. Her story is incredible and inspiring, and I know that you're going to love it. Stay tuned to the end. She is generously giving away a copy of her best-selling book, Girl, Get Off the Couch, and I have some interesting information for you as well. Without further ado, here is my episode with Dr. Radisha Brown.
Hello, everyone. Today I am chatting with Dr. Radisha Brown. Welcome to the show, Dr. Radisha.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be on your show, girl. This is going to be fun.
I'm excited to have you. So you know that the show is called Bold Moves. You wouldn't be on here if you hadn't made some. So why don't you share a little bit about you and some of the risks that you've taken and your story along the way?
All right. Thank you guys for listening to my story. Bold Moves should be the title of my life.
I love it.
I am from South Carolina. I was born and raised in South Carolina. I'm one of 5 children in my family, the second oldest. My mom was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and so my grandmother pretty much took us from the hospital to the house. And so she raised us until she suddenly passed away when I was about 9 years old, and I ended up in foster care. So I'm a foster kid.
Goodness.
Kind of shuffled around from place to place throughout my, I like to say, time in foster care. Like it's like doing time. And so, part of that process, the expectation was set pretty low. As a foster kid, the expectation was not to finish high school, certainly not to go to college. When I talked to my then caseworker, she was like, "What do you mean you're thinking about college? What?" So, it wasn't even a consideration for foster kids at that time. And now they have great programs and stuff in place. But, I had to step out of my situation, and because I wanted more, I just didn't know it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so my foster parents, my last set of foster parents, I had a lot of foster parents, but Karen and Alan Morton, I always call them my heroes, my angels, because they encouraged me to go to school. They were like, you can go to college. And at that time, I did not know not one single person in my family that had gone to college. So I didn't think it was possible for poor country girls from South Carolina to go to college to get an education. So I was the first person in my family to go to college.
It's amazing.
To start this journey. So, it's been one journey after another. First in the family is my business, Holistic Living with Dr. Radisha, which is my basis is mental health and helping women to understand the connection between weight is your mind, and the key is getting your mind right to get your body snatched, is what I like to say.
That sounds good to me.
So as if that wasn't enough, I decided to write a book about my story and losing 80 plus pounds. And so my name of my book is Girl, Get Off the Couch, because I basically my butt was on the couch eating and drinking every day. So I wanted to share my story with others, to step out in a lot of ways on faith to inspire other people that it doesn't matter where you started. It just only matters how you finish. And so it doesn't matter if you were a foster care kid like me or grew up poor or whatever the circumstances. It doesn't matter how you started. And so that's my message to everybody. So that's a little bit about me, girl, but I can tell y'all, I can talk to you all day about that.
I could probably listen all day because I feel like there's so many different facets of you. I mean, like anybody else, but it's just so fascinating to me, like the different places you've been and what you've made out of, coming from a place that would challenge a lot of people for sure. I don't know if I know anyone who has been part of the foster care system. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and how that even works? Like you said, you had many foster parents, and I think ideally you would find, your heroes first and stick with them the whole time. But obviously that's in a perfect world that we don't live in. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah, that would have been great. But the foster care system for the state of South Carolina is very similar to most foster care systems. Basically, you go through a process. They find people in the community that want to open up their homes to children that don't have any place else to go, or their family situations are not appropriate for them, either because of drugs and alcohol, neglect, whatever the situation is. And so they are vetted through the state. Some people do it for great reasons because they want to help the community. Other people do it for financial reasons. And not everybody is very nice in the process. And so the way it works is that the case worker will contact potential foster parents. And unfortunately, there's a shortage of them. There's just not enough of them, and certainly not enough good ones with the best intentions. And so they would basically, I'd say, pimp you out and be like, hey, I got this kid. They're 10, they're 11. These are some of the issues they've had. They don't have any place else to go. Would you like to take them? Because at the end of the day, it's up to the foster parent or parents if they want the child to be in their home. And so it's almost like make a deal, let's make a deal. And so for us, it was 5 of us. So it's me and my 4 siblings. So there was a lot of negotiating going on. In our first placement, we were all together, but after that, there was no other foster parent willing to take 5 kids at one time. So then we get separated. But at the end of the day, is the person or the one person or 2 people decide if you come into their own home and how long you stay there. Okay. So I was at some placements 6 months. I was at another placement a year. And it leaves the kid feeling very uneasy because at any moment you could just be asked to leave. They don't necessarily tell you why you're leaving. They just decide, you know what, they're not getting enough money, or they don't like you anymore, or you eat too much, all the different reasons. I was told that I wasn't able to stay there anymore. So you basically live in a bag because at any point you could be moved at the blink of an eye. And so pretty much that was a good portion of my childhood and being in foster care, because I didn't know when or if I would be staying or where I would be staying. And that's the biggest issue in the system, is the fact that there's no consistency, and there's a lot of people getting into it for the wrong reasons. And so, like you said, I wish my angels had come much earlier, to save me a lot of trauma. And we talk about childhood trauma as a mental health therapist. That's what I do. How it affects everything else. So certainly, it affected how I saw myself. I affected how I felt about myself. I just didn't value myself, so I ate my way through life to cope with pain and hurt and stress and boredom and everything else. Food became my best friend in that process. So as you can imagine, my weight plummeted, or rose to the top.
Sure.
And so I had to dig through all that trauma to get to a place of healing. And it's a difficult journey, but it's certainly worth it.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I think stability can be such an important thing in a kid's life and routine. And I know that like my parents were divorced when I was very young. And so I spent a lot of time going back and forth between my mom's house and dad's house on kind of an erratic schedule. And even that was unsettling, I guess. But I can't even imagine just probably walking on pins and needles a lot of the time, wondering like, is what I'm doing okay? Am I going to upset them and get kicked out? Like,
absolutely,
that had to be horrible.
It was tremendously horrible. Or in my opinion, trying to be invisible. Like, I spent so much of my childhood trying to be invisible, trying to make myself as small as possible, so they kind of forget I'm here, so they don't kick me out for whatever reason. And as you can imagine, as you get older, placements become harder because people don't want teenagers, they want little babies. Cute. And so they want cuteness, they want oh, my baby. They don't want teenagers that are maybe hormonal or sad or any of the other things that may be going on. And so it's harder. Teenagers are harder to place. And so that was part of the issue that I experienced and part of what drove my sadness and my pain and the trauma that I experienced.
I can
And
only imagine.
so stepping out and being bold to be the first person in my family to go to college, and I like to say surviving foster care, because if you've been in foster care, you are a survivor,
Yeah.
and you're able to tell a story, because the statistics show that most foster kids like me don't make it out. We wind up in prison, we wind up on drugs, we wind up homeless, because there's no plan for future development. Like when you have your parents, you have a support system.
Right.
As a foster kid, you don't have a support system, because once you turn 18, your foster parents stop getting paid for you. There's no money coming in, there's no support, and a lot of times some emotional support to keep you and to guide you through life.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So have you been able to, I know you said that your first placement, you were with your siblings, and then from there you were separated. Were you able to still keep in touch with your siblings? Are you still connected? Okay.
Yes.
That's good, at least.
As teenagers, we were able to connect to each other, even though we never went back into the same home as children, but as adults, we're extremely close, and they are all survivors. We're all survivors, and they're all doing great. So by God's grace, and lots of prayers. I like to say the prayers of my grandmother, even though she's passed on, has covered us to help us through the difficult journey through life, And so I like to talk about my journey to tell other people it doesn't matter where you start. This was my journey. This was my life plate. This the hand that it was dealt to me, but you can be bold and step out. You don't have to repeat the same patterns. I didn't have to be an alcoholic or a drug addict. I didn't have to continue living a life of just living in the streets like I saw my mom do. And so that's what the essence of boldness is, just stepping out.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So I want to talk a little bit about your heroes or your angels, as you mentioned. How old were you when you were placed with them? And then are they still people that you're in touch with? Like, it sounds like, especially being the first in your family to go to college, that perhaps they were people who were still supportive in some way. Because, I mean, you're not really grown up when you're a freshman in college or 18 years old. Even if the state says that you are.
Yeah, you are not.
There's still a lot more maturing to do.
Yeah, and my angels, Alan and Karen Morton, they are both teachers. And when I graduated high school, they started working for the Department of Defense and traveling and teaching at Army bases overseas. So they went and were teaching in Japan. So they weren't immediately available to me in support system, but certainly I am their daughter from their perspective. They are my parents from many perspectives. But I also have since gotten my biological father as a part of my life. And so that's been a great relationship to have. And it's just been a journey. It's certainly been a journey. And it didn't necessarily, there's no script for it. There's no life script. Do this, then do that. But
it would be nice if there were, even for people with so-called easy lives. That would be really helpful.
But the thing about trauma, and I like to talk about trauma because that's what it is. Trauma is everybody's individual experiences, their negative experiences. So what was maybe negative to me may not have been negative and not been a traumatic experience. You can have two people go through the same situation and end up and see it differently. But we all have trauma. It's all different. I mean, maybe you weren't in foster care, but you had divorced parents and trying to navigate that, trying to build a relationship with your dad that may have not been in the home, and mom, as she's developing and creating new relationships and new possible siblings and all that stuff.
Sure.
That's a trauma. That's trauma. And so we have to heal from that trauma as we walk through our purpose in life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So speaking of purpose, since you brought it up, I'm wondering if you know yours, and if so, if you don't mind sharing it.
Absolutely. My purpose in life is to help women understand and to lose the mental weight and to live and to be happy. It's a very simple but complicated purpose. And I think my friend likes to say repurpose pain. So my pain has been repurposed to help other people.
That's beautiful.
And helping them through the mental weight, as I like to call it.
I like that. And I think that has to be very valuable to so many people whose lives you touch. So I'm glad that you're doing it.
Yeah, it really has been. And certainly with the book, I've been able to touch more people and in places that I've never been, places I've never heard of. And so I've been getting a lot of feedback. It's been number one on Amazon. I just got a magazine article the other day, and it was number 4 of most important books to read.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. I was like, oh my God.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. All from my little story, girl, from this little brown chick from South Carolina. help some folks live better. That's it.
I love it. That's beautiful. I'm so glad that you're having such a great impact. I'm curious how you came upon like your course of study. So especially being the first person that you really knew to go to college, how did you decide on what you studied and where did you go and how did that work?
That's a very interesting question. My sister, when I was about 6 years old, she said, you're either going to be a social worker or an attorney because you always talking to people. And I've always had the gift of just loving people and being around people and encouraging people. It's just a natural gift that God gave me. And so when I went to college, I went to, it was Columbia College. It's an all-girls school in South Carolina, and it's a private university. My my foster parents, they pretty much adopted me, but not legally. My foster mom was like, yeah, you just fine, you're going to college, but we're going to just lock some stuff down. You're going to all-girls school. So make sure no babies pop up. She was a realist. She's a realist. So, so I went there and I toured it for the first time, and I just was just in awe. I'd never met so many powerful women, that confident women that had purpose. Like they traveled, they spoke differently from me. And I remember walking into the halls and just, doing the tour and just like, oh my God, it was like a different world that I had never experienced. Remember, I'd never, there's only one person in my immediate family at that time that even finished high school. High school seemed like a stretch,
Wow.
College seemed impossible. People like us didn't go to college. And being in there and being around all those women that just had so many life experiences and just walked it with confidence, like, of course we're going to college. Of course this is what we do. It just touched my soul in so many ways. And I was like, I don't know what they got. I need some of it. I need some of it.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. And that I was like, I gotta go here. I have to go here. And so that became my focus. And luckily I was able to go to Columbia College. And being in an all-girls school is a completely different experience. They really train women to walk in purpose and to be their authentic self. It's a really, really amazing experience.
It sounds absolutely incredible. So I'm glad that you had that experience. Now, I don't want to shift from something potentially or something amazing to something potentially less so, but I always like to ask people what the scariest moment they've experienced has been. So I'm wondering what that is for you. And it could be business-wise, it could be health-wise, it could be anything that you're comfortable sharing.
I have so many, girls, so many, but probably as an adult, the scariest thing for me was working in an adult male prison. I was a prison therapist.
Oh my goodness.
It was crazy. Like I sat in the parking lot and I cried the first day. And I was like, oh my God, why am I here?
Before or after?
Before, after, and during. I was just like, oh my God, because you hear such horrible things and it's just like something about that door slamming behind you and not being able to really easily get out.
Yeah.
It was so scary, but there was something inside of me. I was like, I will not quit. I will not be a quitter. I will not be a quitter. Then I'd be crying, Lord, help me quit. Help me quit.
Show me an escape route.
Give me another job.
Oh my goodness. How long did you do that?
I did that for 3 years, girl.
Oh my
3
goodness.
years. I like to say it was the best, worst experience of my life.
I'm going to need you to elaborate on that.
It was the best clinical experience that you, hands down, you could get as a clinician working in mental health, because you pick up the DSM-5, which is our diagnostic book, and you can, every diagnosis, you had access to a live person with that diagnosis. Versus a lot of clinicians don't get that experience. They only work with a small population. They only work with depression. They only work with post-traumatic stress disorder. Here I had access to a plethora of diagnoses and clinical training. That clinical training, hands down, is just unbelievable. It was the worst experience because every day I went to work afraid I was gonna get assaulted. So
there's that.
That's the real. Or am I gonna get stabbed to death today? So
Yikes.
but I tell you, the people, my coworkers, the patients, they really need clinicians, because the fact is 95% of the people in prison will be getting out.
Right.
And the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it. We need good clinicians, because guess what? They're going to be our neighbors. They're going to be the people on the roadways with us. They're going to be the people cooking our food at Waffle House.
Yeah.
At 3:00 in the morning. They're probably one of my patients. And so we're needed. We're absolutely needed. And the work I did was phenomenal. So
I believe it. So I'm curious how that impacts your life, going to work and hearing just, I'm sure, heartbreaking, potentially disturbing stories from people. How do you have a normal life when you leave work and not just sit in your car and cry until you're supposed to go back in tomorrow?
Yeah. It's amazing because it becomes, you get to know the people beyond the situation. And I also, during that experience, I saw more love and support of people, just really heartfelt experiences from the patients and from my coworkers. I always say that's why it was the best, worst experience, because I tell you, I've worked in private sectors, I've worked in public sectors. I have not worked with a group of people, a group of coworkers that loved and supported you more than in there.
And because you need it.
Because you rely on each other, and literally for life sometimes, for protection. So it's one that I wouldn't trade in. Believe it or not, I wouldn't trade the experience, because it trained me and helped me to see the world differently. Certainly the person that went in scary, afraid, naive, didn't come out that way. Now I can walk and work with, there's no group of people that I'm not able to work with. There's no group of people that I can't see and have compassion for.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you felt like that situation affected your compassion, because I feel like
absolutely.
It would have to, seeing, it's so easy to hear just the headlines or the Cliff Notes versions of people's stories and be like, oh, that person's a monster. But then when you learn their story and hear their situation and add potentially diagnoses to that, I'm sure it becomes a lot more humanizing. And
Exactly. Yeah. It's a different experience. And one that I will forever be grateful for. That's what the whole thing about gratitude is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be grateful for. And so, the gangs really protected me in a lot of ways. I have a new appreciation for gangs, because I don't care who you are, if it was a male facility, but everybody has a mama, everybody got a sister, so I became those roles for them. They were very protective of me and made sure nothing happened to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm curious, it seems like on day one, you weren't necessarily super excited to start your new job. You're crying. How did you end up getting that job? Were you just looking for any job, or did you see the potential in, you said, having all those diagnoses at your fingertips? Or
No, girl, I was tricked, because the job, I was bamboozled. It was the job posting was for a hospital position. Is it hospital? I didn't realize it was a prison hospital.
They left out that detail, that minor detail.
they left out the detail and they just gave me the address. And so I was tricked because then they offered all this flexibility. I was like, oh my God, this sounds like a great
Dream job, yeah.
Dream job. You can sketch your own schedule. You can do 4-10s or you can set your own schedule. It's very flexible. They give you so much time off. They give you weeks and weeks of time off. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna fight for this job. So when I pull up, I see all the bars. I didn't even
for your first day, not even for the interview, but the first day
for my
of work?
interview.
Oh,
for my
your interview.
For my interview. Well, my interview / first day, because you did a phone interview, so you're not. And I didn't, think to look on Google. I was just like, oh, okay, because they gave me the address. It's a hospital.
Right.
I was just looking for a hospital. When I pulled up, I was like, this is a funny looking hospital. They got a lot of barbed wires and stuff up here. And so I go in, and the security officer, they're like ready to pat you down. I was like, what kind of hospital? Then I would think sometimes on the psych facilities, inpatient psych, there's a lot of security so the patients don't, just leave. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, what in Jesus' name?
Yeah. I believe it. Oh my goodness. All right. So I'm curious, you're there on the first day, you're crying in your car. What made you push past the fear instead of just turning around and going out? Or, when you talk to the women that you work with, I'm curious, what recommendations do you give these women to push past fear if they're about to do something scary? I guess both questions kind of can work together, but I'm curious for both.
Okay, well, one, I was desperate. I needed to eat and I needed a job.
There's that.
so that was like, yeah, I'm fearful, but I need this paper, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that being in that position of, I don't say desperation, but of need, I need to X, Y, Z, kind of drives you, kind of forces you automatically to make those bold steps needed. Because here's the thing, when you're comfortable, change and progression never happens in comfort. Like if I was just at a cushy hospital job and just chilling, I would have never been pushed to apply for that job or to learn, which those skills have helped me to propel me as a clinician to help other people. And then also after that experience, I was like, I need to tell people, I need to talk. So it also helped me to drive to write the book. I mean, I probably would have never done that had I not had that experience. So one, being uncomfortable is important for boldness. For change, you have to be uncomfortable. Absolutely. So don't run from it. That's your body and the universe telling you, this is it. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity. You got to step forward. Keep going. Keep going. And so that's what helped me to stay and to keep going. And certainly I could have left after a month or 2 months. And there were a lot of people that did. Like this one girl, she was there for like 2 hours. She was like, hey, at lunch, I'm not coming back, but it was nice meeting you. She was like, it was nice to meet you guys. Okay, girl. Yeah, she was like, yeah, I'm just waiting till lunch and then I'm leaving. So don't try to show me anything. So we just kind of chatted for a little while. So, but that being uncomfortable, some people run from periods of life when they have to be uncomfortable. Run from it. Walk into it, walk through it, because you're going to be a better, stronger person from that experience. That's what experience teaches us.
Yeah, I love that. So you've mentioned your book a couple times. I would love a reminder about what it's called. I know you said it's about your story, and then where you can find it.
Yes. So the name of my book is Girl Get Off the Couch. It's Girl Get Off the Couch because that's where I spent my life, on the couch crying and eating every day, eating fried chicken specifically every day. I love fried chicken.
It's good.
So, it's very good. And I'm in the South, so we make it real good here.
Yeah, you do.
And really available everywhere. So you can go on Amazon, type in Girl Get Off the Couch. You can go to my website, girlgetoffthecouch.com, and purchase it there as well. And it's my personal story of my 80+ pound weight loss and helping women specifically to understand that physical weight was just a manifestation of my inner weight, of the mental weight that I had been carrying around for so long. Even though I looked fine for the outside, even though I was big girl, I was still cute. Don't get it twisted, all right? But it was unhealthy, and I needed to make some changes because at one point the doctor told me if you continue to eat like this, you will die. Like you're gonna die. You can't not eat like this every day and not have health challenges. So the purpose is to help people to understand that change is possible. Listen, I haven't met one person that ate as much fried chicken as I did. I just haven't. And so I just haven't. So if I can give up the fried chicken every day, you can give up whatever those negative thoughts are and to lose whatever mental weight you're carrying around. That's just what it is.
That's beautiful. So if someone's listening to this and beyond buying your book would like to follow you online or your social media, where can we find the rest of Radisha online?
Come over, join the revolution, the tribe of glorious people losing the mental weight. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, all at Dr. Radisha Brown. That's DrRadisha Brown, BROWN. Come on over. Come chat with me.
I love that. I hope a lot of people are heading there for that because you've been so fun to chat with, but we're not quite done.
Okay.
Of course, your book would be a great recommendation for anybody, but I'm wondering if there's any books by other authors that you've read that you would like to share that recommend for people to read.
I have a couple that I really, really, really love. One is Body Love by Kelly. Her social media handle is Be Well by Kelly. I think it's Kelly Levine, but it's called Body Love. And basically she talks about not just psychologically loving your body, but physically, what foods do you need to love your body with, right? Okay. And then pretty much any book by Dr. Hyman, I am obsessed with him. Okay. he has a new book coming out next month, but all of his books I am obsessed about. I listen to his podcast. I'm just like his unknown black daughter. I love that man.
Do you have one favorite by him?
By him, probably the last one is called Food. I think it's called Food Matters. Okay. Something like that. I'll look it up real quick. But
I'll make sure it's all in the show notes.
Yeah. Just look up Dr. Hyman, my daddy, and get his books.
All right, perfect. Now, I feel like you've already just naturally given so much wisdom and advice and value to anyone listening. But if there's anything that's on your heart that you haven't said that you would like to share, any lesson that you've learned recently or ever, or something you wish someone would have told you a long time ago, now is your chance to just let anything out for our listeners and viewers that you might have.
Listen, the most important part of your journey is to understand that you are worth the effort required to change. Change is hard. Listen, it's not easy. And if it was, everybody would do it. But whatever resources are required, whatever energy that's required, you are worth it. You are worth the efforts of the change. And so many times we walk through life thinking we're not worthy, we're not good enough, we're worthless. Listen, whatever change, and if it requires you to see a therapist, just like I had to see, even though I'm a therapist, I had to see a therapist. It requires you to see a medical doctor, nutritionist, dietitian, whoever you need to see to be the best version of yourself. Guess what? You're worth it. You are worth being happy. You are worth that for your family. You're worth that for your kids, your loved ones, your coworkers. You're worth being healed. That's it.
That's beautiful. I feel like I want that to be my alarm when I wake up in the morning. Listen, Mandy.
I know, right? Yes, I know. Get it together.
My probably last question is a favorite of mine, and it's one that I asked people even before I had the podcast a few years ago. And I think it's so interesting because I always use the same numbers, but given your situation, I feel like it's especially interesting. So I'm wondering if 8-year-old Radisha had a crystal ball and could see, what's happening the next year with your mom passing and all of the foster care, college, prison, but on the right side of the bars, and to where you are now, a best-selling author, the weight loss, the fried chicken, all of it, as well as, you are looking forward to a book coming out next month, and whatever your foreseeable future is. On a scale of 1 to 11, how excited would little Radisha be to see the future of Dr. Radisha?
Ooh, that's a good one. How excited would little Radisha be? probably 11, because as a child, I was always excited about everything. Everything excited me. And even now, I'm excited to know what, like, I'm always praying. I'm like, Lord, what's in store? What do we have next? 2020 is going to be great,
Yeah.
So I would have been really excited about the future. I'd have been really sad about losing my grandma, though. That would have been tremendously hard, and it's still very difficult, but I would have been excited to see what the journey God has in store for me. And I'm still excited. I got plenty of things I still got on my list, girl.
I'm excited.
I'm waiting on Oprah to call. Call me, Oprah.
I love it. We'll work on that.
Okay. Yes. Y'all know Oprah, tell her, call me.
Well, thank you so much. Your energy has been amazing. Your story has been amazing. I've absolutely loved chatting with you today. So I really appreciate what you've done for me today, and just what you're doing in the world. I think is incredible. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. If I can be of assistance, let me know. And listen, how about we do this? I will give a signed copy of my book to one of your listeners.
All right. I like that. So yeah.
We'll work through the detail. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
I think her story is super inspiring, and I hope that you feel the same way. And I hope that this inspires you to get off the couch, whether or not you're a girl. Now, as I mentioned, she is generously giving away a copy of her book. So if you're interested in winning that, you want to head to the show notes at boldmovespodcast.com. That is where you'll see all of the episodes of the podcast, as well as where you can find links to find Dr. Radisha Brown on social media and her websites, as well as links to buy the book if you're not feeling lucky, and her other book recommendations. I also am going to share the link to getting my book that I just wrote, which is for anyone who is a beginner at doing their own makeup that wants to become more confident and empowered to know how to help yourselves look the best. So it's called Best Face Forward. It's by your makeup BFF, that's me, and I hope you love it. So please head to the show notes and check all of that out. While I'm making requests, I would love it also if you shared this episode with anyone who you think would find it valuable in any way, whether that's inspiration, motivation, or even just entertainment. I'd also love if you subscribed so that you don't miss an episode. I have a great challenge from Radisha coming up this week, so subscribe so you get an automatic download or a notification when it comes out. And finally, I would love it if you would leave me reviews on Apple Podcasts. My mission is to help as many people as I possibly can, and one of the ways to do that is to get the algorithm on my side. So if you tell Apple that it's worth listening to, perhaps Apple will suggest it to more people, and the right person could hear the podcast and change the world someday. That would be a dream come true for that person and for me, I'm sure. So thank you in advance for your help in doing that, and for the people who have already done it so far. It means the world to me. All right, thank you so much for listening, and as always, be bold and have a sparkly day. Bye-bye.